Hello, everybody. Thanks very much for coming along today. My name is Chris Leach, and I'm from a company called Digits, and I'm joined today by Michaela Crawford from Dominos. And together, we're going to talk you through a live case study about how we've created a bespoke induction journey for Domino's Pizza, and go through some of the lessons that we've learned along that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. So initially, just to give you a little bit of background, it's me. I joined Domino's at the very end of 2014, and one of the first sort of projects I was handed was to identify a new LMS supplier. And also just to mention this, a little bit of background into Domino's, as some of you may know, that we are not like McDonald's. We don't own any of our own stores, so we rely, it's purely a franchise business. So we've got just under 100 franchisees. Between them, they own over 900 stores across the UK and Ireland, and we estimate approximately 33,000 in-store team members. So what we were looking for was really an LMS that would fit our blended learning strategy, that would be fit for purpose to deliver our training quickly out to our store staff. And it should be able to allow access for our store staff really easy and quickly during our onboarding process as well. And therefore also require minimal training to get people up and running. So after an initial sort of shortlisting, we obviously chose Digits as our supplier. And one of the reasons for that was that they have this really attractive visual learning journey, which appealed to us. One of the initial pieces of content that we wanted to launch with the LMS would be a new online induction course. And just having this sort of visual learning journey meant that the interface was really, really simple, and it just, all the content that the learner needed to see was right there on the front page when they logged in, and that really appealed to us. Another thing which, please go on. Yeah, thank you. Another thing was the fact that we were able to benefit of all their core, from the core functionality of a SaaS system, but equally being able to apply our brand identity to create this fantastic look and feel for our employees. So we weren't just given sort of a box system, this is what you see is what you get, but we were able to apply this lovely skin on top of their core functionality. So as I was saying, we are really keen for our new starters to have access even before they start on the first day, which was important for our onboarding process. And take advantage of a huge range of different e-learning materials, any resources that we wanted to put out there. And for the future also enable us to add our online sort of our face-to-face courses and use the system as a booking system for that as well. From the end user's perspective, that meant that we, sorry, please go to the next slide. So from an end user's perspective, it also meant that they were able to access the LMS from a range of devices. So be it obviously mobile, tablet, PC, even our in-store sort of systems were able to access the site from. We were able to track the training specifically to that particular end user, and that in return meant that we were able to measure the performance of the LMS and going forward, obviously tailor our future training needs to what was going on. I'm now going to hand you over to Chris again, who's going to talk a little bit about the technical implementation.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michaela. So with any LMS implementation project, there's always a number of different challenges that you need to overcome. With this particular setup, because we were looking to bring a lot of new starters onto the portal, the first thing we needed to do was to identify who these people are, what we need to deliver to them, and at what particular time. the content was going to be very much aimed at new starters, but also it was going to be used with existing colleagues as well. So we needed to provide kind of access to the correct information and compliance reporting in the background. So effectively, what we did was to produce a kind of registration facility, because we're not necessarily tying in with live HR data that's coming from another HR system, certainly at this kind of early stage of the project. We needed people to be able to kind of get on very quickly onto the system. So what we opted for was this registration-based process. So again, this meant there was no need for that kind of hard data integration with another system or multiple other systems. And it gave us really that ability to have a kind of very rapid implementation. So effectively what happens is when we've got a new starter to a store, they receive a kind of new starter letter which directs them to the portal. And effectively they'll be given a store number and a registration code. So you can see on screen at the moment there's the actual registration page that they use. So effectively the end user just needs to enter in this store number, the registration code. We then take a first name and surname, an email address, and then let them set their own password. So by taking the store number and the registration code, this allows us to link the individual's record back through to the franchise group itself, and effectively, most importantly, gives the end user the correct learning based on their individual user profile. So at this point, they've got instant access to that learning. So they're instantly into the learning journey, and they're able to do this wherever. Again, it's not sitting behind a firewall. There's no specific technology that they need to get onto this learning. This is delivered via, it's multi-device, so it's delivered across Android and iOS and across all different browsers. So effectively, individuals are able to get started even before they've started at the company. And it's usually a great opportunity when the individuals are usually at their either most excited and most enthusiastic about working for a new company, or very nervous about what's going to go on at the first day. So it's a great opportunity to sort of build on this desire for them to want to know more, and also to present a really professional look and feel at that kind of first point of interaction with learning at Domino's. So effectively working with the L&D team, with Michaela and all the guys at Domino's, we started to look at what could we do with a visual learning journey that would effectively mimic the concept of a driver delivering pizzas or delivering greatness, as Domino's always says. So we worked very closely with the internal brand team. They had some fantastic assets already from a lot of printed literature, some other digital bits and pieces that were happening within the business. We got some of our designers to go out into the actual store itself. So again, it's really important to understand what the real-world environment is that the end users are actually consuming this content in. So we went out there, and again, the very busy environment, Domino's store, there's an awful lot going on. It's a very hot environment, and some of the technology is kind of relatively challenging in terms of kind of how up-to-date it is. So we've got particular browser challenges that we needed to work with. So once we've kind of aggregated all that information, all the kind of usability information, we're then able to take that findings back to our team, and then the design team work through looking at, as Michaela's already mentioned about, the key is to not overly customize the system. What we're able to do is effectively apply a skin to all the standard functionality, which means we can have a really fast implementation and also embrace any new functionality that we add to the SaaS system on an ongoing basis. So effectively, what does this sort of stuff look like? So we have this effectively a journey along the road. Each of the pins represents a different piece of learning that the individual needs to go through. So this is everything from food hygiene, introducing the business itself, driver training as well. So lots of different content, and that at the moment it's predominantly e-learning, and a lot of it's kind of storyline-based content. But again, it could be an entire blended learning delivery. So you could have kind of classroom courses for people to book on as part of those individual points. So there's some examples of the actual content, what the content looks like that fires through. So again, in Domino's case, you're using a lot of Articulate Storyline 2 content. Lots of different suppliers, again, not just us as a content provider, but lots of other content providers. A lot of kind of rapid authoring in-house as well. So again, it's about trying to combine all those different content channels into a single user interface for the end user that's going through it. So in terms of, we kind of keep talking about sort of a rapid implementation. We effectively launched back in September and piloted to one particular franchise group. We then took a lot of feedback from that pilot. We're able to adjust and take that feedback to accommodate some of the changes that maybe, again, it's very easy sometimes in isolation to make assumptions about the way that people are going to interact with particular content. But again, once you actually see it out in the wild, you can take all of that feedback through. And then effectively, within the first month, we had over 500 registrations. So now we've been running the system for a period of time. We've phase 1 rollout of the induction journey completed within 8 weeks. So again, from an LMS implementation point of view, 8 weeks is pretty quick. We've now had 14,000 logins, and we've had over 7,000 course completions since launch. And we've rolled out across the UK and the Republic of Ireland, currently within 53 franchises and more than 400 stores. So I'll hand back to Michaela.
That's it. Excellent. Okay, so just a little bit of a look at the sort of lessons that we've learned from this initial implementation that we've done so far. It's really, well, one piece of advice sort of upfront when you're beginning to look for an LMS supplier would be to understand what your KPIs really are. What is it that you want to be able to measure, and then ensure that the LMS that you're selecting for your business is going to be able to provide you with that and those stats to back it up. In terms of early implementation, it's really to establish some cohorts that are going to give you really good quality feedback early on. So what we did at Dominos is that we sort of had a short pilot that ran with one group initially, and then broadened that out to a wider cohort. But it's really, really vital for you guys to get the feedback early on, so you're able to feed that in during the implementation phase. It's also about keeping your high-level stakeholders abreast of what's going on and communicating that feedback. And it gives you a lot more credibility if you can stand up in a meeting saying, well, we've measured this and this and this, and this is how the reality is looking at the moment. And also, if you're wanting to change tact, you can back it up with the stats. And then thinking about, everything's happening so quickly. So up front, you need to start thinking about how are you going to communicate this out to your business. So you really need to think about a marketing campaign as such to launch your LMS within the business and communicate that early, even before you're sort of absolutely confident this system is ready to roll out. You need to say, this is coming, just keep people abreast of what's happening in the future. That means that everybody is lined up in place for when you're ready to press that button. Once you do, you want to make sure that you actually have enough people and resources in place that are trained within your business to ensure that you're able to provide your users with the level of support that they need. So it's not only managing the support internally within your business, you'll be relying on the support team at Digits, because there'll be a lot of things that your own team might not be able to answer. So it's about thinking about having those relationships between the two companies. And obviously we benefited not only from great relationship with support, but also weekly calls with our project manager at Digits as well, which is very useful for us. And then lastly, really make it clear to your managers in the wider business what sort of role you expect them to play during this implementation phase, and provide them with the training and the materials that they need to push this out to their members of staff. One thing that we were able to ensure was that we found that we were able to train out just the basic concepts of using the LMS in a 1-hour online training session to our staff. So we were able to very quickly get people up to speed with the system and get them using it. And that actually enabled us to get a lot of buy-in for our high-level stakeholders as well. And it's a testimony really to how simple and user-friendly the system is. Obviously, there's a lot of extra, when you start delving into the reporting and extracting more information, it goes a bit deeper than that. But just getting all your users up and running with the system was really efficient for us. So I'm going to hand you back over to Chris. He's going to talk to you about some of your other clients. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm making some noise. Yeah, and I think it's absolutely right. The kind of the relationship between a kind of a supplier and a client like Domino's, it's you're very much part of the same team. There's a few examples on screen of some other client systems that we've set up. But yeah, I think in very much sort of general terms, the closer that working relationship is, the more empathy that we can have as a supplier to some of the challenges that Domino's has got, both from a technology perspective and from a cultural perspective. It allows us to try and build a solution that really gives the end users what they need, rather than sometimes what's dictated either by the technology or sometimes by kind of regulatory frameworks or mandatory things that are forced from a business upon high. So yes, anyway, thanks everybody for joining us today. If you've got any questions at all, we're on stand 36 if you want to kind of find out any more information. Or have a look at our website. And thanks ever so much to Domino's and Michaela for offering to do this today.
Thank you.
Fantastic.